Hey guys! OMG! Can you believe it? This is already our third podcast.
I know, Yunes. This is all thanks to our listeners. Now, are you all excited to kick off this day with a new episode?
It has been a week since our last episode. Of course, I can't wait to start.
So now, without further ado, we welcome you all to another episode of
Who let the podcast? Who let the podcast?
This is episode 3, bringing you once again a peek inside the world of chemical engineering. We are your hosts, Claire,
Pam,
Carrie.
And Ginny. Today's episode will definitely gonna bring our listeners to one of the most relevant but overlooked issues that the world is facing right now.
Yes, Eunice, you are right. A very significant one. In fact, the global community has recognized this as an issue that requires serious attention from everyone.
especially us, Carrie. As a matter of fact, our beloved country ranked third as the world's biggest polluter after China and Indonesia, with a whopping 2.7 million metric tons of plastic waste generated each year from the Philippines.
wow, that's a lot of plastic waste. But seriously, though, I really like discussing this type of topics in our podcast because we can use our
Mm.
platform to inform our listeners that these type of issues exist and are in need of everyone's cooperation.
Yes, Claire, it is to that extent. That is why today's episode is about industrial solid waste management and how to control it. So, to start, let us define what is an industrial solid waste.
So that's actually a good question, Pam. So to put it simply, industrial waste are actually defined as the solid waste that are generated from industrial or manufacturing processes and even in our residential homes. So its management is actually the responsibility of the generators themselves. And they are required to seek authorizations and follow relevant rules upon its disposal.
I agree, Carrie. Following rules and regulations set by the law is important because environmental pollution associated by rapid industrialization is getting worse. And for developing countries like us, the Philippines, industrialization has caused serious problems resulting to soil, water, and air contamination, climate change, and harm towards our health and to the environment.
This growing concern should not be underestimated, and each one of us should take actions to reduce further environmental pollution.
Exactly, Claire. That is why numerous studies and control strategies have been developed to mitigate and prevent industrial solid waste pollution at its source.
So, since we are talking about industrial solid waste management, then let us take into consideration our manufacturing plants' solid waste management and how to control, mitigate, and prevent solid waste pollution that the facility can possibly contribute.
We all know our manufacturing plant produces Spiral One, a filter module that is applicable to residential water purification to convert tap water into drinking water. Awesome, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and the process involved in manufacturing the product are solution roll spinning method to produce cellulose acetate nanofibers and the assembly process of the spiral wound filter module, right?
Yes, and the filter module consists of various components such as the
Yes,
cellulose
that's right.
acetate membrane, the feed spacer made of polypropylene, the permeate spacer made of tritopolyester, permeate tube, and the housing materials.
So, how do we connect it in today's episode regarding solid waste management?
Well, as what was mentioned, there are various components of the filter module that are biodegradable material, which is the cellulose acetate polymer that solidifies after cleaning, and the non-biodegradable materials, which are the feed and permeate spacers. It can't be avoided that there will be excess cuttings of these sheets.
Oh, so you're saying that the product would generate small amounts of solid waste and that this waste must be disposed of properly,
Yes,
right?
you're right. proper disposal is really important because if these solid wastes are inefficiently managed, then it can negatively impact the environment. Right, Claire?
Yes, Pam, because even though they're one of the most versatile materials that we make use of, including the materials to produce the filter modules that you mentioned earlier, they still make up a huge amount of solid waste and take centuries to break down in landfills or the ocean.
And a lot of people still don't understand or unaware as to why environmentalists and waste experts take plastic disposal so seriously.
Well, they
Yeah.
probably didn't know how long it takes for plastic to degrade back to the
That's
environment.
true.
The answer may surprise everyone. Well, it takes 500 to 1,000 years and potentially leak pollutants into the soil and our water. That's so
Yes,
bad.
and it's estimated that there are already 165 million tons of plastic debris floating around in the oceans, threatening the health and safety of marine life.
So that's actually a lot of plastic indeed. It's really concerning, even though there are initiatives available to help this decrease this amount.
I know, still an average of 8.8 million more tons enter the oceans each year, including microplastics, which are tiny particles less than 5 millimeters long from cosmetics, fabrics, or the breakdown of larger pieces, which may be ingested by marine wildlife.
So over a million of seabirds and over 100,000 marine animals are killed by plastic pollution every year. Furthermore, 44% of seabird species, 22% of crustaceans, and a growing range of fish species and all sea turtles are known to have plastics in their bodies, which are sad.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is really necessary to take action now and combat plastic waste. So, I'd like to ask, how will our company dispose of our plastic waste properly, especially that it is from street cuttings and could potentially become microplastics?
So for our solid waste management, since the only solid waste that our plant is actually producing are the cuttings from the spacers, the substrate, and those little amount of cellulose acetate polymer that have solidified after cleaning operation, these wastes can be directly segregated and actually disposed of.
So, what type of waste do they belong?
So that's actually a good question. The cellulose acetate is actually a biopolymer type of plastic that is biodegradable in soil. So this in fact degrades in 2 months and will completely degrade in 4 to 9 months. So the spacers and the substrate, on the other hand, are non-biodegradable. So the permeate spacers are made of polyester, while the feed spacers are made of polypropylene. Well, this substrate is made of, the substrate rather is made of polysulfone. So they belong to the non-biodegradable section.
So are you going to contact a third party after segregating it, or will you be the one processing your waste?
Well, I think as of now, the best way is to find actually a company that currently handles these kinds of plastic waste. Since if we are going to be the one who will process it, then we'll have to build actually a new facility for it.
Why not?
It is because we don't actually produce that much waste for our spacers and polysulfone cuttings, which means that having a waste processing facility is actually not economical. That's
Oh,
why.
I see. That is a good point.
But how about if you choose to reprocess your plastic waste? How is that done?
So if and only if, since both polysulfones and polypropylene are thermoplastics, then most likely that they will be repurposed and or upcycled. They will undergo sorting, cleaning, and reprocessing by melting. So in the reprocessing phase, the collected waste are fed into an extruder where they are melted at high temperatures and cut into granules after. So these pellets are then ready to be used in production of new products.
Carrie, can you tell me what are these new products that you are mentioning?
So given their inherent flexibility, they can actually be recycled back into many different products, including clothing fibers, industrial fibers, food containers, dishware, compost bins, speed humps, and even gardening apparatus.
So, how about the polyester?
So for the polyester, so upcycled polyester are used to make clothing, automotive fabrics, curtains, carpets, stands, backpacks, and actually more.
Wow, that's amazing, Carrie. That would be more beneficial to our environment than just to dump the plastic waste into our landfill, right?
Yes, that's true.
So in summary, we have two options in dealing with our solid waste generated from our plants. One is to segregate and hand it over to third-party companies, which will upcycle, recycle, and or repurpose our waste.
And the second one is to process it by ourselves, which was found out to be uneconomical since solid waste generated are not that many.
And that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast.
And we hope you learned something from us today.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us to the comment section below.
We'll see you in the
See you
next
on the next episode of
of
Cool at the podcast.
Bye!
The podcast.
Bye. See you.